Hello, Namaskar. Welcome you to the SAAR analysis. I am Chaman Nayak and here's my take. Well, for decades, the perception was clear. India was one of the largest buyers of the weapons. Now, it bought from the France, it bought from Russia, it bought from United States, it bought from Israel, it bought from many other countries. But what if a country that once dependent on a global arms supplier is now preparing to sell off one of the world's fastest cruise missile to the nation sitting at the front line of geopolitical conflict? Consider these BrahMos missiles that can travel 3 times of the speed of sound, roughly around 3,700 kilometers per hour, and at a speed it can cover 300 kilometers in less than 6 minutes. So here's the question: if a missile that can change the hostile warship before its response, how much does it change the balance of power in Indo-Pacific? Let's dig it out. Here's what evidence speaks about. India is working on a lighter, stealthier, and potentially long-range versions of the BrahMos. Well, India is also in discussion with the countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, and United Arab Emirates for possible export. This is not just a defense transaction, it is India entering a highly strategic, volatile market where missiles are not just simply sold but it is used to shape the regional calculation. Well, the current BrahMos can travel up to Mach 2.8 to Mach 3, designed to strike ships, radar stations, infrastructural destructions, and it helps to reduce the time available for the interceptions. Well, for a country facing naval pressures, a capability that can change the conversation before the conflict even begins. Now, the question arises, why is this so important? Let's look at the map. Vietnam versus China in the South China Sea. Indonesia sits somewhere between the world's most volatile maritime routes, and UAE operate in the region shaped by tension around Gulf and Strait of Hormuz. Well, each of countries had different security challenge, but all of them faces the same question: how do you deter a stronger adversary without becoming completely dependent on a superpower? That is where the BrahMos becomes not just an Indian missile, it is becoming a strategic alternative, because for decades the global market was controlled by a handful of buyers. Now, India is attempting far more ambitious, becoming the supplier of high-end military capability to countries that want to create that strategic importance. And every BrahMos export deals carries the diplomatic message that India is not just participating in the security order, it wants to play a role in it. Let's look at the bigger picture, because this comes with risk, because BrahMos is jointly developed by India and Russia. Exports approval, technology sharing, and geopolitical sensitivity remain deeply connected with the Moscow. And there is China for sure, because BrahMos sale to Vietnam or Indonesia would be viewed by Beijing as a commercial deal, and it would be seen as a shift of military balance across Indo-Pacific, and which is an important point to note. As BrahMos missile become lighter, stealthier, and more exportable, the question is no longer whether India can sell the missiles or not. The question is whether India is ready for a geopolitical consequences of selling that deterrence. Now, here's my take. BrahMos may become one of the clearest symbols of India's transition from a defense buyer to a strategic power supplier for sure. But India is not just exporting a missile alone, it is exporting speed, deterrence, and political confidence to a countries navigating for a far dangerous challenge. But there's one question we should all take a concern, that every major power watching the story. Now, if BrahMos becomes the preferred missiles in the Indo-Pacific, will India's defense export strengthen the regional stability or trigger the next generation arms race? Let me know in the comment section. That's all from today's analysis. I will be back with another episode. Till then, thank you for watching this.